has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast. Final hour of C2C on a pain-free Friday with Carver. Hi, I'm Ferrall in New York. And Dirty Harry Callahan, of course, very excited about the Titans' final game. What a torturous season it's been watching them. And said Callahan, coach, the franchise into the ground. Here he is. He says he's going to start Levis. Is that the plan? He's going to play both quarterbacks?
Well,
what is happening here? They are awful.
Let's try to get through the rest of the nonsense on Sunday. Really, the games that have absolutely nothing going on in them. Callahan said earlier in the week he's going to use both quarterbacks. He said today that Levis is going to start, so we'll probably see both. Who cares? I mean, the Titans suck, and they play the Houston Texans. They are now a 1.5 favorite because I believe Houston isn't going to be playing anyone in the game. 36.5 is the total. Can the Titan starters beat the Texan backups on Sunday?
No. And let me move on to the next one. You know, I know you're going to talk about the Colts.
Right.
How funny is it now that the NFL literally, remember when a guy gets a job as a head coach in the NFL, now, a year ago they were talking about how great Shane Steichen was, and now this year they're talking about firing him. Get rid of him. Like the Colts fans, they give you 2 years now in the NFL. You either win every year you're there or you get fired.
Well, let's remember, last year they lost that game, the last game of the season that would have got them in the playoffs. They lost the Week 18 winner-go-home game against the Texans. This year, they had some opportunities. They even really were alive here the past couple of weeks, and then they lost to the Giants. And there's been all these stories about how there's just no, the locker room is apart and there's no control over everyone. Guys are late to meetings. They do all these things. Here's what's more concerning to me than the head coach, that their 22-year-old second-year quarterback has got like this awful back problem.
Chronic.
He can't walk. Like I would say that is a bigger problem for me going forward than any of their head coaching decisions. So Richardson's not going to play again on Sunday. It will be Joe Flacco as they finish their season at home against the Jaguars. They're going to lay 4.5 in that game. God bless and good luck if you want to be involved here.
I'll say this. Joe Flacco's career is now officially over. He needs to play this game and retire because at one point we saw him throwing dimes to Pittman and company and looking fantastic. Yeah. And since that game, he's never done anything at all except get worse by the week. He is now officially on call as being atrocious. His career is now officially over. He needs to retire. If that guy comes back for more backup scrub duty in the NFL next year, then you know the whole thing's just a laughing stock. His career's over. Let's just
I don't disagree with you. It has not been a good finish for him this year. There in Indianapolis, it sure hasn't.
They suck. I bet they lose that game.
I would not surprise me if they did. The Patriots, of course, just have to lose, and they will be assured the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. They are at home against Buffalo, who's going to play mostly backups. I know Allen's starting the game, but that's just for cosmetics, so he keeps his streak going. It'll be Mitchell Trubisky for most of the day for the Bills. They're 3-point favorites, low total, 36.5.
I mean, can they not screw this up? I mean, the Giants screwed it up, Vegas screwed it up. Can they at least just lay down on the mat and lose this game and get it over with and have the number 1 pick and they can get the kid out of Colorado, Hunter? Can they just not screw it up? Like, are you kidding me? Am I going to watch another team butcher the number 1 pick because they want to win some meaningless NFL game in Week 18? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
They have the top slot. Of course, 2 weeks ago, the Raiders had a chance to get it. They won. Last week, the Giants had a chance to get it. They won. We'll see if the Patriots, going into this final game, have that top spot, and we will see if they can get out of the weekend. I think the Bills will beat them, actually. I think the Bills backups will beat the Patriots on Sunday and will secure themselves that first pick. The Giants will be in Philly against the Eagles. Now, this is another situation. Giants obviously playing all their guys. That's what Dable said. And the Eagles playing a lot of backups because they have everything locked up. Of course, no Barkley either. -2.5, 37.5, the total in this one.
I don't care what the number is. The Eagles will still win the game.
Tanner McKee. I agree. I think that they will probably beat the Giants on Sunday. And the Giants, remember, they're still in that, I think they're third or fourth right now. They win that game, and there it is right there in 4. That's talking about sliding down to 8, 9, or 10 if you win some meaningless game against the Eagles. Imagine that going from having the first pick to winning your last 2 games and then picking 9th. That's as bad as it gets for if you're a Giant fan. Just as bad as it gets in that scenario. The Bears are in Green Bay against the Packers. Packers -10.5 with a 41.5 as the Bears try to or just can't get out of town fast enough as they've lost 10 games in a row.
Green Bay's paying absolutely no one in this game, so I could actually see the Bears covering. They always lose, but I bet they cover.
Another game with absolutely nothing going on. The Seahawks are playing the Rams backups. I know Jimmy Garoppolo
is so awful. Every game
for
you've
the
talked
Rams
about today is so awful. The NFL
this
has
is
a serious
week 18
cosmetic problem that every single game is just an atrocity. These games, meaningless, worthless. It's not even worth watching football. That's how bad it is. You thought the NBA had problems. The NFL with their phony-ass games.
They have been dealt a real bad hand this last week. They just have absolutely nothing, no juice whatsoever. All these teams are finished. There's nothing on the line.
It used to matter. Last
year,
you
used to have at least a handful of games that had some juice, and both teams were playing. You just don't have that this year. And finally, San Fran is at the toaster against Arizona. Who's playing? Josh Dobbs is starting for San Francisco in this game. Kyler Murray, of course, with the Cardinals -4.5.
I like Arizona. I am so happy that the Niners have fallen all the way to the depths of Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs. That's it. That is what they have fallen to in terms of the depths. As far as the most popular bets, I think I have those for you too for this week. There they are. Washington, 88%.
Fail.
Bills big on there. Look at that. The Bengals, 76% on the Bengals tomorrow night at the place the Steelers play. Very popular.
Literally, I hate all of those. The only one, the Commanders, I'll give you. I like the Bills, Eagles, Texans, Chargers, Chiefs. I don't like the Packers. I don't like the Bengals. I don't like the Dolphins. And I like the Buccaneers. And the Panthers, to me, aren't even in the league.
They're not. They're not even in the league. I agree with you. And listen, I tried to do touchdowns. Most of these games don't have them up because they don't know who's playing. There's a lot of incentives this week to keep your eye on. The big one now, these are all over the place now. That's the hard part about the incentives. Everybody's doing them. Evans needs 85 yards and 5 catches for $3 million. Geno Smith needs 185 passing yards for $2 million. DeAndre Hopkins needs a touchdown for $500. Throw it $500,000. Henry needs 1 touchdown for $500,000. Cortland Sutton 82 receiving yards for $500,000. Look for these. That's the way to play the props. Really, this final weekend is for stuff like that.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite, so you usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, Mike, let's shift to the NBA.
Yeah, we got a lot of games tonight, including that huge Knick Thunder game that we want to talk about. But let's do a few things from last night. Pacers beat the Heat 128-115. Monster night for Tyrese Halliburton, only player in NBA history with 30-plus points, 15-plus dimes, 5-plus threes, and 0 turnovers. In fact, it's the second time he's ever done it, and he's the only guy to do it. So that's pretty good for Halliburton. But, of course, the story out of this game was Jimmy Butler. Now, we have talked about Jimmy Butler leaving the Heat, doesn't want to be there. Riley says he's not going to trade him. Well, I think after the game last night, Scotty, Butler made it clear that he doesn't want to be on the Miami Heat anymore.
What do I want to see happen? I want to see me get my joy back from playing basketball. And wherever that may be, we'll find out here pretty soon. But I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here,
Liar.
off the court. But I want to be
Liar.
back to somewhat dominant. I want to hoop, and I want to help this team win. Right now, I'm not doing that.
Can you get your joy back here on the court?
Probably not.
Yeah, I think this guy is an absolute top-shelf malcontent. Let's face facts. Wherever he's been, he has this exodus. He has moved around like an airplane. I mean, honestly, this guy is never happy anywhere, and he always gets his way by shoving off the dock. How can you not be happy in Miami playing for Spo? And this guy, you know what it is? Here's the reality. I don't care about his joy. How about his joystick? How's that sound? Your boy made it to the NBA Finals, couldn't get it done, and he's never been happy since. And here's the other fact. He's never been good since. He doesn't matter anymore in the grand scheme of things. He thinks he's going to go carry who to an NBA championship. My boy is never happy. He hasn't been happy since his dad died, right? Like, he turns that into a big story. And, everybody dies, Alex. Eventually, I've seen everybody die. And then some people just carry it into everything else they're doing. And this guy just does not ball anymore. And he's trying to dig his way out of Miami because he's not happy. He's never effing happy. He has never been happy anywhere he's been. He is the biggest malcontent in the NBA, bar none. And they're going to give him his way. The better interview that I sent you was the Hero Sandwich interview, where he's like, we're all looking for joy. I'm cool. What are you going to do? I don't know. I'm going to go have a good night. I'm going to get me some leg for sure. I'm going to have some cocktails. And he's a baller. That skinny-ass white boy is twice as good now as Butler. You can laugh all you want. Jimmy Butler never does Shaq anymore, and his body is broken down, and his career's like over. Do you really think for 1 second that Jimmy Butler's going to come riding in on a white horse and rescue what franchise in the NBA? How about my effing ass? He is an absolute cancer 101. He is the biggest lymphoma in the league. Bring him in and watch what he does to your team. He'll tear it apart, just like he's done the Miami Heat. And you can document that and tell him I said so. That guy with his stupid hairdos and his, starting 5 TV shows and his kids and everything else. No one gives a rat's ass. He doesn't ball anymore and he doesn't matter anymore. I mean, that's the reality of it, Mike.
It's the reality of it. And if I had some advice for Tyler Hero, it would be when you're going to have interviews like that, speak up and don't whisper so that we can actually play them on the show instead of just murmuring away in the mic, like away from everybody. So that way we can actually play it. That was the problem with Hero Sandwich
all right.
For that.
All
but that's, he was very, he was kind of somber and down. But he did sound like then he was going to go have a good night afterwards. So that's always a good thing.
He's going to become even more popular in Miami now.
Yes.
Because get rid of the cancer and he's going to go, it's going to be Hero and Bam, and that's the deal.
You watched the Celtics beat the T-Wolves 118-115. I saw Ant complaining after that game, too. I guess he's tired of people double-teaming him. Well, sorry. Sorry, that's the way the league works, right? You want to know why? I guess he misses his boy Cat now, right, Scotty? I guess he misses Cat because he used to attract a lot lot of the attention. He's not there anymore.
Did you hear what he
now
said,
everyone's on.
Mike?
That
did
was
you hear what he said about Randall?
I know what you're about. That was fake. I went and looked that up. That was a slip past the goalie. That was not a real quote. That thing that you said.
Well, if
not
it was
real.
a real quote, it was fantastic.
It was funny.
Jeans.
It was funny as hell, but it was not a factual thing that he said. Now the Nets had like a huge lead on the Bucks, and they almost blew that. Nets won 113-110. Bucks almost came back and got the job done. The Thunder beat the Clippers. They've won 13 in a row. They'll go for 14 tonight against the Knicks, which we'll discuss in a moment. Warriors destroyed the Sixers out at the Chase, 139-105. And the Lakers beat Portland 114-106. LeBron, 38, 8 dimes. He hit 7 threes. And then after
did you know
the
he
game,
was 40?
Did you know he was 40? After the game, why talk about the game? Let's talk about our son, his other son, signing with Arizona.
Well, it was his decision to make, and he went where he felt comfortable. Straight shooter. Coach Lloyd, a straight shooter, gave him exactly what they believed in him or what they thought about him as a person, as a player, and we're happy to be a part of the Bear Down community now. Got some
Bear Down
terrible friends
community.
in Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye that are alum there, so not too excited about that, but other than that, we're excited to go to be a part of the Tucson community.
That's the Arizona thing. Arizona's a bit. They say Bear Down there. I know it's the Wildcats, but that's like their.
I lived in
like
Flagstaff.
their tagline.
I've never heard that in my life. And secondly, I said yesterday on the show with Joe Ranieri, the one thing we know for certain is that LeBron will be buying a very nice condo in Tucson.
a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
So Giannis and the Joker are the leading vote getters for the All-Star Game, which is the worst sporting event of the year in the world.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's definitely in the top 5, but it's close. The NBA All-Star Weekend. Yeah, we got a lot of bad stuff now. That's probably in the mix up there. But Giannis and Joker do have the most votes so far. Did you know that Karl Anthony Towns has 1 million more votes at this point this year than he did last year playing for Minnesota? That's because he plays for the Knicks now. That's why. That's called being in New York and being on the Knicks. That will help your public eye, that's for sure. All right, we have a bunch of games tonight in the NBA. Let's get through these. Charlotte is in Detroit against the Pistons tonight. Pistons, of course, have played much better basketball over the last few weeks. They are laying 6.5 at home. 221.5 is the total.
Well, of course, Jaden Ivey broke his leg the other night. I still like the Pistons. I'll lay it at Little Sleezers in Detroit Rock City because the Hornets are complete ass mustard.
I will give you this one note about these two. They have played twice already this year. Hornets beat them both times. Now, both games were in Charlotte. Hornets beat the Pistons twice already this year.
Not tonight.
They only have 7 wins, period. 2 of them were against the Pistons. Not tonight, though. Not in Detroit. The Pistons will get the job done. Orlando is in Toronto tonight against the Raps. Magic minus 1.5 on the road. 214.5 the total.
How can this not be the Magic? I mean, honestly. They're 20-15. The Raptors are 8-26. I've been hearing how great the Raptors are on this show for 2 months. I'm sick and tired of it. Give me the Magic.
The Celtics are in Houston against the Rockets. Celtics 2.5-point favorites on the road. 221.5 is the total. Of course, the Celtics facing their old coach, Udoka.
They're dead meat tonight. They played 118-115 in Target, flew to the Toyota Center in Houston, and they're playing that team. Give me the Rockets all night long, like the Four Horsemen.
Wow. Little Rocket action tonight at home against the Seas. The Wizards are in New Orleans. This is a tough one. Friends and family only. The 6-25 Wizards, the 5-29 Pelicans. And the Pelicans are laying 7.5. Imagine being 5-29, and you're laying 7.5 points. 233.5 the total.
No way on earth that they are covering that spread against Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's been scoring 30 a game for about a week now, and he's on fire, and the Wizards are going to win the game outright.
The two biggest winning streaks in the NBA get together tonight in OKC. The Knicks and the Thunder. Thunder, of course, they've won 13 in a row. The Knicks have won 8 in a row. Here is Josh Hart talking about facing the Thunder and their old friend, Hartenstein, they're going to see tonight, Scotty.
You have coming up now an interesting matchup. The Thunder, red hot team just as much as you guys are. How much are you looking forward to that game? I don't know if it's measuring stick's the right word to use here or phrase to use.
Yeah, I mean, this will be a good test. Obviously, we got them, and it's a tough back-to-back with them in Chicago. So we just got to go out there, play our game, be aggressive. The big man got paid this summer, so he should be a little slow on his feet and slow trying to protect the rim. So we should be able to, go at him.
I love how he gives your boy Hartenstein the business. The Thunder are not losing at home to the Knicks. Listen, I love the Knicks. I hope the Knicks win. I'm praying the Knicks win. I'll watch the game, even though it'll be awful watching all the three bricks. But I will say this, the Thunder right now to me and Shai Gilgeous are unbeatable in Oak City, and they've won 13 in a row. It'll be 14 tonight.
Yeah, it's 4.5 is what they're laying here in this game. So 4.5 for the Thunder, 223.5. I'm taking the Knicks with the 4.5 tonight in OKC. I think they keep this game, maybe even win it. I like the Knicks here. Cleveland is in Dallas against the Mavs. Of course, the Mavs now have been struggling without Luka. Minus 7.5 for the Cavs, 231.5 the total.
I mean, I'm on the Cavs at 29-4. Like, what am I, stupid?
They win every single night, right? I mean, it just doesn't end. I mean, every single night they win. I have
they
three
give
more.
No chance in the East. None.
Zero.
No chance.
They got no shot to win in the playoffs. No shot. I have 3 more games for you in the NBA. I've got hockey. There's college basketball tonight. There's a bunch of stuff that we have to do.
A lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite, so you usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred, or just worked on the side, or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
around the stretch they come. All right, Carver High, we still got a few stragglers in the NBA here.
We do still have a couple of NBA games for this evening. The Spurs will be in Denver against the Nuggets tonight. Nuggets -5.5, 238.5 is the total this evening.
Joker with another triple-double, and the Nuggets win at home and cover.
It kind of feels that way, right? Feels like that could be the way that things are going to go. The Kings are in action tonight at home against the Grizz. Kings actually favored tonight, Scotty. -2.5 with the Grizzlies in town. No Ja Morant tonight. That's part of the reason why that number is what it is. And 241.5 the total.
All the more reason to bet on the Grizzlies. No Ja, doesn't matter. Zach Edey's going to go off. Grizzlies are going to spank the Kings at the Golden One, even though they've won a couple of games in a row because Fox has had 33, then 35. Doesn't matter. They still suck, and the Grizzlies don't. That's that.
That is that. That's for sure. And finally, the Hawks are at the Crypto tonight against the Lakers. So back-to-back for the Lakers, who are laying 3.5 at home against Ice Tray and the crew. 231.5. LeBron and AD both game times. Now, AD didn't play last night, right? So AD didn't play last night, so he'll probably play tonight.
Yeah, Peanut Brittle's going to play. I like the Lakers at the Crypt in Lipstick City. And everyone keeps talking about how bad they are. But there are so many teams that are way worse than them. And when they're 19 and 14, to me, they're not as bad as everyone thinks. They're the 7 spot right now playing. Who cares? All you want to do is play in or otherwise. If you're one of those teams in that realm, that's them, then I'm fine with it. The NBA's full of crappy teams, and they keep saying how crappy they are. I mean, they're 5 games over 500. I just don't buy that they're as bad as everyone thinks they are. They'll beat the Hawks tonight in L.A. They'll win their 20.
I agree with you. And one last thing before we go for the weekend. If you find the NFL on Sunday to not be that palatable during the afternoon, I will tell you that the Thunder, who are in the middle of a tough stretch, like we said, they're playing the Knicks tonight. Thunder have Boston in the Chesapeake on Sunday. So Celtics Thunder, Sunday afternoon at 3:30. I mean, can't we play that game when NFL's not on? Do we have to have that game the same time as the NFL games? Celtics Thunder Sunday afternoon.
I'll actually take that game over those crappy NFL games with no one playing in them. That's an embarrassment to the National Football League and the Shield. It's an embarrassment what's happening this week in pro football. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. Give me that game right in the middle of it. Have at it.
There you go. So I gave you another option with the Celtics and the Thunder here on Sunday afternoon. How about college rack for tonight? Several games on the docket. Let me give you some of the big ones. We have some Big Ten action in the mix this evening. Here we go. Iowa visiting Wisconsin tonight. We have Michigan State at Ohio State. Xavier at Georgetown, Big East. Creighton, Marquette for the Big East. And then I'll give you one. We got a late night out in the Mountain West. Nevada and New Mexico getting together tonight as well.
Yeah, I like Wisconsin at the Cole at home. It's so hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. It's not even funny. Ohio State, of course, is playing at home against Michigan State. I'll take the Buckeyes in the upset, laying 2. I laid 2 in that. It's 2.5 here. I like Georgetown laying 1.5 in D.C. I like Marquette at home at Fiserv against Creighton. And then as far as Nevada and New Mexico go, I like the Lobos at the Pit in Albuquerque.
And if that's not enough for you, it's always fun when Manhattan and Siena get together in the MAC, like they're going to tonight. So you have Manhattan and Siena in the MAC, which I know is always
awful.
They've both been bad. Quinnipiac and St. Peter's. So you do have yourself a few things on the college basketball slate this evening. How about a little hockey?
Everybody loves hockey.
Well, let me ask you this, because I haven't seen you the last couple of days. Did you see any of that, or did you even know that the Winter Classic? I mean, they played that game at Wrigley Field.
The Blues killed them.
Why are you having the Blackhawks in the game? They're the worst team in the league. Like, what kind of juice are you going to get by putting the worst team in the league in the Winter Classic? all right, well, you know what? I prefer a venue not as cool and have two teams that are actually, like, good be in the game than have the Blues and the Blackhawks playing.
Like, it was so embarrassing, that game. There is no one on the face of the earth that watched that game.
It was the lowest rated Winter Classic, I think, ever. I saw in the story today.
I mean,
the lowest
take a
rated
good
Winter
look at
Classic
the product
ever.
that you put out for people to watch. You put two crappy teams together because people seem to still think that Wrigley Field is some majestic place. Well, let me tell you something. I'm okay with saying Wrigley Field's cool in the baseball season to go to once. It's bucket list worthy. I've been there a million times. It is worth going to once for sure. But watching a hockey game at Wrigley Field on New Year's Eve, who gives a flying F about Wrigley Field in the dead of winter with the ivy all gone? It's just like no one, like, people in Chicago wouldn't go there if you paid them. I mean, honestly.
They got to find – now they're going to go to Florida, allegedly. They're going to have something involving the – how are they going to play in Florida? I know it's a little colder in January in Florida.
What are they going to bring in air conditioners?
What is not – I know. I don't know who you had last night, but there were some big upsets last night. I don't know if you're on them or not. The Ducks beat the Jets. Sharks beat the Lightning last night. There was a lot of big dogs that came barking in the NHL, and the Islanders stink. They lost at the horse track to Toronto 2-1, giving up a power play goal in the final couple of minutes. That was completely gutless. The Penguins are playing tonight. We'll start with them. They are in Florida at sunrise against the Panthers. Panthers minus 210, plus $1.72 for the Penguins, and a 6.5 this evening.
So the Panthers lost at home last night with a really low price, and Joe was like, when have you ever seen them at that price? Sure enough, they lost. Tonight, they will kick the Penguins' ass.
Yeah, they probably will. I do like some goals in this game, though. I think that we'll get some pucks, even if the Penguins lose. So I'm on the over with the Penguins and the Panthers. The Canadians are in Chicago against those awful Blackhawks. Habs minus $1.30 on the road. I'm up to plus 120 now with the Blackhawks and a 6.5.
Well, they stink, too. So I thought, I'll take the under in the Canadians. They both stink. This is like a 3-1 game written all over it.
They both stink. They are both really bad. The Sens are in St. Louis against the Blues. Blues minus $1.20 now. Actually, I've got the Senators were favored earlier. I got this as the Blues as the favorite at this second. Even money for the Sens and a 5.5. I like the Sens tonight, Scotty.
I'll take the Blues at that price.
The Ducks, who won against Winnipeg yesterday in overtime, now have to play a back-to-back, and they're going into Edmonton, who always smashes them. The heavy lumber game of the night, minus 450 for the Oilers, plus 340 for the Ducks, and a 6.5.
Well, that price is so embarrassing that I'll take the Ducks on the puck line, getting a goal and a half at plus 148 after they got all cocky last night in Winnipeg and won. I'll take him at Rogers Place tonight, getting a goal and a half at that price. What do I give a rat's ass what I lose here? I don't care. The Oilers are so overrated, it's not even funny.
And I don't know how to figure this one out. The Predators are minus 154 in Vancouver against the Canucks. I mean, the Predators have been awful this year. Awful. Give me the Canucks with the plus money tonight.
How in God's name are they plus $1.58 at home? It's got to be Stinky Fish. It's got to be the Predators. There's no way they can give Vancouver that price at home. It's got to be the Predators.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, You got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I always love hooking up with my boy, even though he went to Purdue. Jerry Palm of CBS Sports. Look at him. He's styling in his Boilermaker sweatshirt. And I got to tell you, I thought Smith looked great last night. Big win for them at Williams Arena, kicking the Gophers' ass on the road. Not easy to win on the road in the Big Ten, as you know.
It hasn't been easy for Purdue to win on the road, period. That was their first road win of the season. So it was a big kind of monkey off their back. Get that done early in conference play because there's going to be a lot tougher road games than that one coming up.
All right, so I want to go right into this seeding that you have already with your infamous bracketology. You've already started doing it. You're doing it twice weekly, Mondays and Fridays. And today you came out with some seeding. And I was looking in the Big Ten, and you have Oregon and Illinois at 3s, Purdue and UCLA at 6s, Michigan and Wisconsin at 7s, Michigan State at 8, Ohio State, Maryland, and Nebraska 9s. Is that right? And then Penn State, Iowa, and Northwestern. Penn State, Iowa's 10s, Northwestern 11. And you have completely macheted my Indiana Hoosiers out of the NCAA tournament.
They're close. I think they're the first team out, aren't they? Do you see that?
I don't know. I just saw.
I think I've got the first team out. Yeah, they haven't beaten anybody yet. You know, that's just it. That they haven't had a chance to play anybody. They don't have the kind of win that it needs to push them into this bracket. You know, it's funny. All of those Big Ten teams, you know, there's a couple of 3s, and then it's 6 through 10 is like a dozen Big Ten teams. Well, maybe not quite that many, but most of the Big Ten teams that I put in this bracket are between 6 and 10. And that made bracketing really hard because you got to try and keep these teams apart from each other in the bracket, at least for a little while. And I had to move a couple teams around to get that sorted out so the Big Ten wasn't playing each other. Also, 7 SEC teams among the top 4 seeds in the top 16 then in the bracket. And you also have to try and, you know, keep those teams apart as long as you possibly can. And so that was a lot of fun as well. The committee's going to have their hands full with those 2 leagues this year, trying to follow their bracketing rules even a little bit, with almost half the bracket, a third of it at least, being the SEC and the Big Ten.
So your top seeds are Auburn, Tennessee, Iowa State, and Duke. Your 2 seeds are West Virginia, Marquette, Alabama, and Kentucky. I think Auburn's the best team in the country, and I think they're better than Tennessee. Do you follow any of that rhetoric?
Yeah, they're my number 1 overall seed. So despite the fact that they lost to Duke, they're still my overall number 1 seed because I'm with you. I think they're the best team. They've got the best player. That Johnny Broome is a beast. I thought that, he got hurt right before they played Purdue, and it looked like he wasn't going to play. Well, he played, and boy, that team Purdue had no chance against Auburn, and Purdue's a pretty decent team, but, not like last year, but still pretty decent team. But Auburn just had their way with Purdue, and that's a guy that most teams are not going to be able to handle. Just like Purdue's guy in the last 2 years, Zach Edey was a player that most teams couldn't handle. Well, Broome's a different kind of a big, but still a player that most teams that Auburn faces are not going to be able to handle.
Yeah, I think he's good. He is not anywhere in the Zach Edey realm. I have to ask you
well, they're
about
different,
Zach.
too. They're different players.
But, Zach Edey would crank in his face. Come on, he's a monster. Now, all of the people that said that he was going to be terrible in the NBA, I was clearly not one of them. I hate Purdue, but I have said since day one, 2 years ago, I said it. This guy will be a star in the NBA simply because of his size and his ability to seal off defenders. I have never seen a guy use his ass better than him at sealing off and finishing with mini hooks and inside. I've never seen a guy that big hit that many free throws. He can shoot threes. His numbers with the Grizzlies have been phenomenal. Who's laughing now? What do you think of his pro career so far? I think it's been outrageously good.
Yeah, he missed a month with an ankle injury, but when he's played really well, and it's getting better. And, you're right. He's big, he's strong, he's violent as you can be in basketball, but also he's got soft hands, and he's got a smooth shot, and he's always had that. It's just, it's just gotten better. And remember, this is only his 8th year of playing basketball. So he's still picking up the nuances of the game.
Crazy.
So his ceiling is really high, and it has to be because otherwise he's got to duck under it.
What did you think of West Virginia's win at Fog Allen? I thought it was enormous. You have him as a number 2 seed, deservedly great pick by you. And what did you think of that game? And then we'll ask you about the Final Four in college football.
Well, that's huge for West Virginia. Kansas hasn't really been 100% sharp this year, but they've still, especially at home, they're still Kansas. And to go in there and get a win is going to be a big gold star on their resume all season long. And that's going to pay off for them if they continue to play well. It'll pay off for them. It'll be a 1 seed line win for them when they get to the NCAA tournament at the end. That's a huge win for West Virginia.
So let's look at, I got a minute respectively. What do you think of these 2 semifinals? Notre Dame and Penn State up first in the Orange Bowl, and then Ohio State and Texas at Jerry's World on Friday night.
Yeah, I like Penn State to beat Notre Dame, but that's going to be a low scoring game because both of those teams are built on their defense. And I trust Penn State's offense more because I think it's a little more versatile than the Notre Dame offense. But, Notre Dame is really playing well. And this is not the Notre Dame that we saw early in the season lose to Northern Illinois. They've really been sharp. They're a little banged up, though. I think Penn State's a little more healthy, so I like them. The Ohio State team that beat Tennessee is the best team in college football. And then they went out and just did that again to Oregon. Texas is really going to have their hands full. Unless Ohio State takes a step back, I don't see how anyone beats in this semifinal or the final.
Yeah, there's no one better than Jerry Palm. Great stuff, Jerry. I can't wait to talk college rack with you after the football's done and we can get into some serious hooping. Always great to see you, my friend. Screw the Boilermakers. Happy New Year, though. I love you.
Happy New Year.
a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Fans get very excited for leftovers with Carver High.
Yeah, we do have a few things left on the plate before we get out of here for the weekend, and it's some baseball stuff. Let me do this one first. We did have a signing just a little while ago, as we still have some free agents out there. The Fisherman, Charlie Morton, keeping it going, Scotty, as he's going to make a stop at pretty much everywhere along the eastern seaboard at some point. He now will stop in Baltimore for 1 year. $15 million. Charlie Morton, one of the guys in the Oriole rotation a year from now. So how about that? Charlie Morton keeps getting
here. Like, go away.
Well,
it's over.
Yeah,
the Fisherman.
The Fisherman wants to keep playing. I mean, he wasn't that bad in Atlanta last year, I guess. He wasn't that bad.
Yes, he was.
Now, the top 5 remaining free agents in Major League Baseball. Of course, Roki Sasaki, the pitcher, who I saw today, the agent said, Scotty, that he is close to making his decision on where he's going to play. Now, remember, that's not a money thing. Everyone can really only offer him the same amount of money. That's really down to where he wants to play. So we'll see where that is. Odds are it's going to be Dodgers. Dodgers get everyone, so it'll probably get him too. Alex Bregman, Pete Alonso, Anthony Santander, and Jack Flaherty, the other top 4 guys. I have seen in the papers here in New York that there is a problem between the Mets and Scott Boras in terms of how much money and years they want to give Pete Alonso. Obviously, Boras wants it all, and the Mets seem not to be willing. How about the Mets? All of a sudden, they're not willing to open up the wallet for a guy who's been there for a long time, Pete Alonso.
Yeah, I think it's, frankly, disturbing. I've never believed. I told you 100 times, I said, I don't think they're going to pay him. I don't think they're going to give him what he wants. And that's because they gave all that money to Soto. Another one, Bregman. They treat Bregman like he's 80 years old. They treat him like he has no career left whatsoever. Nobody wants him. I am surprised that Santander doesn't have a job yet with that pop. And I'm even more surprised that Jack Flaherty doesn't have a job because, the Dodgers treated Jack Flaherty like he was Drysdale. Let's face facts. Like, you would think he was, Whitey Ford, the way he was treated by the Dodgers, and how a great and so magnificent pitcher, like just unhittable. And now the guy can't find a job. You have got to be kidding me.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'll say this, too, about Alonso, where the Mets need to be careful. If they actually want him back, I would just go and pay him the money, because if they let this linger on a little bit more, Boris is going to go get some $200 million deal from some dopey team like the Angels, and he's going to talk Pete into taking it, and he's going to go play somewhere else. So the Mets better figure it out soon.
With the Diamondbacks. Burns wanted no part of that. He just went and they gave him the most money. Mercenary hire again there. So I think you're right. Now, Ferrall finish. Did you see this Derek Rose story of him opening up a flower store in Chicago? The guy had a line a mile long of people wanting to get in to meet him at his new rose store in Chicago. They had to cut off the line. It got so long. It literally went for miles. I mean, your boy D-Rose still getting involved. Royal Caribbean cruise passenger dies in detainment. What? After assaulting crew members, threatening travelers in a drunken rage. I saw the footage of the guy just kicking doors in. He was so hammered, and he was enormous. He was pushing 3 bills and 6'5", and he meant business. It took like 15 crew members to put him on the ground and get on top of him and duct tape his ass. He eventually was put in detainment and died. What is happening on cruise ships? People jumping overboard. People getting norovirus. People dying in detainment after attacking crew and shipgoers. I've seen it all. Ex-meth user. This is fantastic story right here. She gouged her own eyeballs out of her face while high on meth. Says now, years later, that she's a lot happier after the nightmarish incident. She's finally coming around after gouging her own eyeballs out of her face, that she's happier now off of the meth. Thank God for that. A maniac leaves a bomb with a chilling note in front of the West Village NYPD precinct that said, "Chlorine gas is a bitch, mother Ferrellers." What is happening where I live in New York City? I am not safe going for a bagel. GTD is next. Go get my app, search Ferrall. It's badass. We make people tons of cash. Everybody's happy. We'll see you next time on Coast to Coast.
Shines. 8 nights of Hanukkah. 8 nights of winning insights.
They may come out slow, so you might be able to get a better number.
Wow, they're favored.
With SportsGrid, every night is another chance to win.
No pick sixes today, they cover. So let's crunch it up. Let's make it happen. Let's give you our favorite props.
Let your Hanukkah winnings brighten your celebrations. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this bet than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, I guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid. In the heart of winter, when nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans, bound by passion. Each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.